So, this is part 12 of Terry Pratchett's Truckers. Educate him a little, the abbot had said. Well, that meant starting with the Book of Nome, which consisted of pieces of paper sewn together with marks on them. Humans use them for cigarettes, said Gerda, and read the first dozen verses. They listened in silence. And then Granny Morky said, "So this Arnold Brothers, established 1905, said Gerda primly. "Whatever," said Granny. "He built the store just for gnomes?" Yes, said Gerda, uncertainly. "What was here before that, then?" said Granny. "The site?" Gerda looked uncomfortable. "You see, the abbot says that there's nothing outside the store." But we've come. He says that tales of the outside are just dreams. So when I said all that about where we lived, he was just laughing at me, was he? Said Masculine. It's often very hard to know what the abbot really believes, said Gerda. I think most of all, he believes in abbots. You believe us, don't you? Said Grimmer. Gerda nodded, half hesitatingly. I've often wondered where the lorries go and where the humans come from, he said. The abbot gets very angry when you mention it, though, and the other thing is, there's been a new season. That means something. Some of us have been watching humans, and when there's a new season, something unusual is generally happening. How can you have seasons when you don't know about weather? Said Masculine. Oh, weather's got nothing to do with the seasons. Look, someone can take the old people down to the food hall and I'll show you two. It's all very odd, but... And now Gerda's face was a picture of misery. Arnold Brothers, established 1905, wouldn't destroy the store, would he? From the Book of Nome, Regulations 3 to 8. And Arnold Brothers, established 1905, said, "Let there be signs, so that all within shall know the proper running of the store. On the moving stairs, let the sign be dogs and pushchairs must be carried. And Arnold Brothers, established 1905, waxed wroth, for many carried neither chair nor dog. On the lifts, let the sign be, this lift to carry 10 persons. And Arnold Brothers, established 1905, waxed wroth, for oftentimes the lift carried only 2 or 3. And Arnold Brothers, established 1905, said truly humans are stupid, who do not understand plain language." It was a long walk through the busy underfloor world. They found that stationery could go where they liked. The other departments didn't fear them because the stationery wasn't a true department. There were no women and no children, for one thing. "So people have to join," said Masculine. "We are selected," Gerda corrected. "Several intelligent boys from each department every year. But when you're a stationery, you have to forget about your department and serve the whole store." "Why can't women be stationery then?" said Grimmer. "Oh, it's a well-known fact that women can't read," said Gerda. "It's not their fault, of course. Apparently their brains get too hot with the strain, you know. It's just one of those things." "Fancy," said Grimmer. Masculine glanced sideways at her. He'd heard her use that sweet, innocent tone of voice before. It meant that pretty soon there was going to be trouble. Trouble or not, it was amazing the effect that Gerda had on people. They would stand aside and bow slightly as he went past, and 1 or 2 of them held small children up and pointed him out. Even the guards at the border crossings touched their helmets respectfully. All around them was the bustle of the store, moving through time. Thousands of gnomes, Masculine thought. I didn't even think there were any numbers that big. A world made up of people. He remembered hunting alone, running along the deep farrows in the big field around the motorways. There was nothing around but earth and flints, stretching into the distance. The whole sky was an upturned bowl with him at the centre. Here, he felt that if he turned round suddenly, he would knock someone over. He wondered what it'd be like living here and never knowing anywhere else, never being cold, never being wet, never being afraid. You might start thinking that it was never possible to be anything else. He was vaguely aware that they'd gone up a slope and out through another gap into the big emptiness of the store itself. It was night, closing time, and there were bright lights in the sky, except that he'd have to start learning to call it the ceiling. "This is the haberdashery department," said Gerda. "Now, do you see the sign hanging up over there?" Masculine peered into the misty distance and nodded. He could see it. It had huge red letter shapes on a red-white banner. It should say Christmas Fair," said the stationery. "That's the right season. It comes after summer bonanza and before spring into spring fashions. But instead it says..." Gerda narrowed his eyes and his lips moved soundlessly for a moment. "Final reductions. We've been wondering what that means." "This is just a thought," said Grimmer, sarcastically. "It's only a small idea, you understand. I expect big ideas would make my head explode. But doesn't it mean, well, that everything is finally being reduced?" "Oh, it can't mean anything as simple as that. You have to interpret these signs," said Gerda. "Once they had one saying fire sale, and we didn't see them sell any fire at all." "What do all the other things say?" said Masculine. Everything being finely reduced was too horrible to think about. "Well, that one over there says everything must go," said Gerda. "But that turns up every year. It's Arnold's Brothers, established 1905's way of telling us that we must lead good lives because we all die eventually. And those two over there, they're always there too." He looked solemn. "No one really believes them anymore. There were wars over them once, years ago. Silly superstition, really. I mean, I don't think there is a monster called Prices Slashed who walks around the store at night seeking out bad people. It's just something to frighten naughty children with." Gerda bit his lip. "There's another odd thing," he said. You see those things against the wall? They're called shelves. Sometimes humans take things off them. Sometimes they put things on them. But just lately, well, they only seem to take things away." Some of the shelves were empty. Masculine wasn't too familiar with the subtleties of human behaviour. Humans were humans in the same way that cows were just cows. Obviously, there was some way that other cows or humans told them apart, but he'd never been able to spot it. If there was any sense in anything they did, he'd never been able to work it out either. "Everything must go," he said. "Yes, but not go," said Gerda. "Not actually go. You don't really think it means actually go, do you? I'm sure Arnold Brothers, established 1905, wouldn't allow it. Would he?" "Couldn't rightly say," said Masculine. "I never heard of him till we came here." "Oh, yes," said Gerda in a meek voice. "From outside, you said. It sounded very interesting and nice." Grimmer took Masculine's hand and squeezed it gently. "It's nice here too," she said. He looked surprised. Well, it is," she said defiantly. "You know that the others think so too. It's warm and there's amazing food, even if they have funny ideas about women's brains." She turned back to Gerda. "Why can't you ask Arnold Brothers, established 1905, what is going on?" "Oh, I don't think we should do that," said Gerda hurriedly. "Well, why not? Makes sense. He's in charge," said Maskin. "Have you ever seen Arnold Brothers, established 1905? "The abbot did once. When he was young, he climbed all the way up to consumer accounts. He doesn't talk about it, though." Maskin thought hard about this as they walked back. There had never been any religion or politics back home. The world was just too big to worry about things like that. But he had serious doubts about Arnold Brothers, established 1905. After all, if he had built the store for gnomes, why hadn't he made it gnome size? But he thought it was probably not the time to ask questions like that. If you thought hard enough, He'd always considered you could work out everything. The wind, for example. It had always puzzled him until the day he'd realised that it was caused by all the trees waving about. They found the rest of the group near the abbot's quarters. Food had been brought up for them. Granny Morky was explaining to a couple of baffled stationary that the pineapples weren't a patch on the ones she used to catch at home. Torrit looked up from a hunk of bread. "Everyone's been looking for you," he said. "That abbot fellow, he wants you. This bread's soft. You'd have to spit on it like the bread we had at home." "Never you mind going on like that," snapped Granny, suddenly full of loyalty for the old hole. "Well, it's true," muttered Torrit. "We never had stuff like this. I mean, all these sausages and meat in big lumps, not stuff you have to kill. No ferreting about in dirty bins." He saw the others glaring at him and lapsed into shamefaced muttering. "Shut up, you daft old fool," said Granny. "Well, we didn't have no foxes, I expect," said Torrit. "Like Mrs Coombe and me old mate Mert, they ain't never..." Her furious glare finally worked. His face went white. It just wasn't all sunshine," he whispered, shaking his head. "Not all sunshine, that's all I'm saying." "What does he mean?" said Gerda brightly. "He doesn't mean nothing," snapped Granny. "Oh." Gerda turned to Masklin. "I know what a fox is," he said. "I can read human books, you know, quite well, and I read a book called..." He hesitated. "Our Furry Friends," I think it was. "A handsome and agile hunter, the red fox scavenges carrion, fruit and small rodents. I'm sorry, is something wrong?" Torrit was choking on his bread while the others slapped him hurriedly on the back. Masklin took the young stationary by the arm and quickly walked him away. "Was it something I said?" said Gerda. "In a way," said Masklin, and now I think the abbot wants to see us, doesn't he?"